Joined now by Katie Moore, and you were talking with David Hammer a little bit earlier about what you guys found, all the investigators found.
Yeah, we've been digging into this all day long, of course, as everyone else has. And one of the things that I recently discovered as we were talking about the FBI in Houston carrying out activity, you and Devin mentioned that statement that they issued through the Houston FBI office. Again, just to reiterate that for those who are just joining us, the FBI Houston and the Harris County Sheriff's Office are currently conducting law enforcement activity near the intersection of Hugh Road and Crescent Peak Drive in North Houston. We have secured a perimeter in that area, and we're asking people to avoid the area. FBI Houston personnel and specialized teams will be on site for several hours. The activity is related to this morning's New Orleans attack, but due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, no further information can be provided. Now, that is of note. I did a public records search on the suspect in this case, the alleged attacker, Shamsud bin Jabbar, and one of his last known addresses is on Crescent Peak Drive. So we can assume that they are securing his home, looking for any evidence that may be contained in his house in Houston. From what we know, from what we've heard from investigators so far, is that this man, again, lived in Houston, possibly on Crescent Peak Drive, according to public records, and then at some point rented that truck, drove to New Orleans, either alone or with other people, and then rented an Airbnb, we believe, according to law enforcement sources, in the St. Roch neighborhood here in New Orleans. And we saw, of course, that heavy police presence around that house earlier today. There was a fire at that house. We believe that may be related to some possible explosive devices or some sort of evidence that was found there. It's unclear how that fire started or when they put it out, but we do know that the ATF was heavily involved in that operation here in New Orleans in the St. Roch neighborhood. So you could assume that, you know, they are concerned that there may be some sort of bombs or weapons involved and that were present at that house here just outside the French Quarter, really, for those who don't know the geography. St. Roch neighborhood's right outside New Orleans. Right outside the French Quarter, rather.
Yeah, so I mean, they were really close. And can you talk about the other IEDs? I know we had David Hammer in earlier, and they detonated 2 of them, but apparently, did we discover if they were actual IEDs that were found or similar to a pipe bomb or anything?
So, yeah, I don't know what kind of, they're improvised explosive devices, so they could be anything, really. But what we heard from the FBI at the news conference at 1 o'clock was that there are at least 2 that were found and neutralized. They were detonated. Now, we did hear reports that there were other things that were blown up or, you know, detonated around the French Quarter at different locations. It's unclear whether or not those things that were targeted by investigators were actually devices that were explosive or if it was just something else that was like a suspicious package or something. You know, of course, they're going to be they're going to be looking into every single thing that they find here in the quarter for the foreseeable future. And, you know, it kind of sounds like they found 2 of the actual IEDs that may have been created by these suspects, and that the other things may not necessarily have been. But we also heard, you know, from the Associated Press reporting based on a law enforcement bulletin that was sent to the Louisiana State Police that apparently there's surveillance footage of 4 people, 3 men and a woman, placing those IEDs in the French Quarter.
And, you know, and that's what